Hi there, how you doing? Welcome back to Possessed by Metal, and I need to tell you how I feel about the 3 exclusive deluxe edition bonus tracks on Judas Priest's Invincible Shield record. Which is my favourite, which is my least favourite, and which track do I suspect may have been written about KK Downing? So let's go through the tracks one by one. The first one is Fight of Your Life. Now, as soon as this track started, I did not like the sound of it because I'm really not keen on that kind of riffing. That kind of old-fashioned, kind of bluesy riffing isn't something that really blows my skirts up. Having said that, though, I really like the song Better Than You, Better By Me. Is that the right song? Is that the right title? Anyway, it's the cover song from Stained Class. And that song starts with exactly the same kind of riff. And it is, at least on Fight of Your Life, very well produced. The song then thankfully goes into a much heavier verse. I have to say though that this verse riff is not up to the same standards as the majority of the other riffs on Invincible Shield. It kind of sounds like the kind of riff that Priest could have written in their lunch hour. You say to Richie or Glenn, play the first riff that comes to mind, and they might play something like that. You know, it's a riff that sounds all too familiar. And as one commenter on Possessed by Metal has noted, Rob sounds very much like Axl Rose in the verses, which is interesting. You know, I don't dislike the verses. I just don't think they're up to the same standard as the rest of the album. You know, and the rest of the album does set a very high standard. However, when we get to the chorus, this is a whole other kettle of bullet belts, because my God, what a chorus. It's a kind of beautiful chorus that I could just listen to forever. Honestly, I love this song for the chorus almost exclusively. And yet that chorus is good enough to make me just love the song. And it doesn't sound like any other Judas Priest track. What a perfect chorus. It's absolutely lovely. And I really love the note that the line, "You're the victor of the fight," ends on the word fight. That note that Rob goes down to, it's just beautiful. So good. So good. And then comes Vicious Circle with a very simple chugging riff that kind of almost sounds like something that early Exodus might make, which is great. I love that. I mean, it's very simple, but that's okay. It's fine for a riff to be simple. I mean, you've got Another Thing Coming isn't exactly a technical prog metal masterpiece, is it? But it works, and it works very well, and so does Vicious Circle. I think I can see why this one wasn't included on the full album, because once again, for me, it's not quite up to the same standard. The guitars on the verses sound pretty much like Escape from Reality to me. It's certainly a similar approach anyway. And while I would have personally preferred Vicious Circle to be on the album instead of Escape from Reality, as I think most people probably would, although Escape from Reality does serve an important purpose, really. It gives us a bit of a break, and it does give the album a bit of space, I must admit, and something different. I don't dislike Escape from Reality, but I'm always going to prefer a track like Vicious Circle. Vicious Circle also reminds me of Fight, the band that Rob Halford made in the 90s after leaving Priest. Yeah, it sounds a bit like a riff of something off of War of Words, their debut album. Finally then, we come to the 3rd bonus deluxe edition track, which is The Lodger. Now, this is written by a guy whose name I currently forget as I walk along Brighton Seafront, but he wrote Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. Tell me his name in comments and I shall merrily fist bump you. And this song is completely different from anything else on Invincible Shield. It sounds like a kind of a film soundtrack song, and the lyrics also paint a picture, in my mind, of a film, one specific film, and that movie is Death Wish. Does anyone else get that? It's obviously, the theme is very much vengeance of the song, which I always like, but I'm pretty sure that in Death Wish, Paul Kersey, Charles Bronson's character, is a lodger, right? Yeah, he's staying in someone's house as a lodger, and he's going out by night to blow the scum away off the streets. And so it feels like The Lodger is about Death Wish, which is interesting. Anyone agree? So how do I feel about the song? I think it's great. I think it's really good. Largely for the chorus is wonderful. You know, what is that chorus? Where did that come from into our lives? It's got this lovely kind of ethereal tone to Rob's voice. And the way he sings "Vengeance is mine," the words "vengeance is mine" for the 2nd time in each chorus, that note at the end of that is some otherworldly note that he's hitting. It's just a bit off in a really good way. Now, I'm not that musical, but I'll bet that note he's hitting is sort of something weird like A sharp minor or something like that. Vengeance is mine. It's amazing. And I really like that bit that Andy Sneap has really pounced on with the production job, putting Rob's voice into the left and right speakers. As Rob says, "When I find him, they'll never find me." Love that song. The Lodger is great. So what is my least favourite song? What's my most favourite song? And which song do I suspect might be about KK Downing? Well, we know that that song isn't The Lodger, because, as I've said, I think it sounds like Death Wish. My least favourite song? But as with the ranking video I did for Invincible Shield, it's really a question of what I love least out of these three tracks. And I suppose that track would probably be, well, you know what, I was going to say Vicious Circle, but when I really thought about it then, I think it is The Lodger, even though The Lodger's great. I would have been interested to hear The Lodger on the album. I might have even preferred The Lodger instead of Giants in the Sky. Oh, I know. What a shocker. Although I am coming to terms with Giants in the Sky more and more as I listen to it. So yeah, I think The Lodger is probably the one I love the least. And the one I love the most is Fight of Your Life, which is really weird, isn't it? Because I don't really like the opening riff, and I'm not crazy about the verses. I mean, I like them, you know, I can get into them. But that chorus just makes the song the best out of the three songs by a good margin. I've listened to Fight of Your Life already 10 times more than I have the other two tracks. Now, you might have noticed that on this channel, whenever anyone mentions the whole KK Downing versus Priest scenario in comments on one of my videos, I don't respond. I don't really want to get into all of that because it just makes me sad humanity's ability to divide up into further super micro tribes within something that is already a micro niche. Priest are enormous, but still, on a worldwide scale, loving Judas Priest is a micro niche. And so it saddens me when you look at Facebook groups and people are insulting each other because they love different Judas Priest albums. Seriously, get a grip, folks. I'm sure it's not you watching this, because you're watching Possessed by Metal, and that makes you significantly cooler than the average metal fan, in my opinion. But I can't help feeling that Vicious Circle is about KK Downing. Has anyone else sensed this? Am I completely alone? I mean, I hope it isn't about KK because, you know, no one wants to see mummy and daddy fighting, do they? Especially not in public. But when you listen to the lyrics and you consider that the media can create a vicious circle, and obviously I'm part of that right now by making this video, let's hope I don't sell it on the KK Downing angle, in order to get more views. There's nothing robs you of shame or guilt like having twins. But as I was saying, it feels to me like the song is about the vicious circle created by the media, whereby, you know, an estranged bandmate slags off a band, the band slag him off, he retaliates, and so on, and so it goes. And ironically, Rob seems to be singing about breaking this vicious circle while writing a song about it. And so, I don't know, I think it feels like the vicious circle will continue, especially if people like me continue to point it out. But, you know, I didn't write the song, and I may be wrong. What do you think? I'd like to hear what you think. And it's worth bearing in mind as well that when I heard Devil in Disguise on the album, I kind of suspected that might have been about KK. So I'm probably looking out for this, potentially in places where there's no KK Downing to be found at all. If you've enjoyed my mini ranking of the 3 deluxe songs, then you'll certainly enjoy my major ranking of the entire Invincible Shield Standard Edition. You'll find a link to that video on this screen. You'll also find a video which compares Invincible Shield with its 2018 predecessor Firepower. Have at it. Keep watching Priest on this channel. Thank you for joining me, and kindly remain possessed by metal.